Slender Man, all the children try to run. Slender Man, to him it's part of the fun. Imagine a mythical creature that has penetrated the whole world of internet culture and that everyone is talking about him, thinking about him, and unbelievably, once upon a time, two little girls took him too literally and ended up almost murdering another little girl as a result. That's what we're going to talk about today in my re-upload, re-edited version of the Slender Man stabbing case. Let's jump into it. And as always, this video is brought to you by our brand new full channel partner, Keto Crisp. The wonderful folks over at tastecando.com have officially signed on to partner with me in both my weight loss journey, which I am back on now, as well as sponsoring the channel. They have signed me up for a brand new affiliate program. So if you click the link down below, as well as put in my discount code, you'll receive 15% off your first order, and I do get a tiny commission if you do purchase. So it helps the channel and you get something tasty and healthy. These are great bars. They satisfy. They keep you full for a long time. They have a lot of great nutrients, a lot of great natural ingredients. And for those of us in the keto and low carb world, we've often been demonized as not a friend to the animals. But these are 100% plant-based. So you can feel good about that too if you are of the vegetarian or vegan keto lifestyle. These are also for you. So with that being said, I want to say a huge shout out to Keto Crisp for sponsoring the channel and helping me to stay on the air here. And thank you all. So if you'd like to order some, definitely check them out below. I appreciate it. Hey everybody. Welcome to Thought Crime and Keto and Crime. Today I've got something kind of spooky and creepy for you. We're going to look at an attempted stabbing. So the great news about this one, the victim did survive, and I was very happy. The entire time I was researching about the case, I was like, oh please let this girl survive, and she did. So that's good. But the bad part about this is the fact that the two people that stabbed her were one of her very best friend and another girl that she had befriended. And they did it to please a fictional character known as the Slender Man. And that's what we're going to talk about today on Keto and Crime. The Slender Man stabbings of 2014. Before we get started, as always, I'd like to invite you to check out the links down below. Never required, but always appreciated if you'd like to support the channel. Those links are all down below. But most importantly, give a like, give a comment, give a share. That helps the channel more than anything, because not only am I a true crime channel, which is highly demonetized, but I'm also a smaller channel, so the YouTube algorithm doesn't really like to promote my videos all that much. So anyway, let's get into this story, shall we? Before we delve into the actual stabbing, we need to examine the phenomenon that was known as Slender Man. Now, if you've ever heard of a phenomenon or a thing known as a creepypasta, that is where Slender Man originated. A creepypasta is basically a story, an internet story or an internet meme that is by definition incomplete. And what happens is this same story or meme or photo or whatever, it's all a meme. A meme is just something that gets shared on a pop culture general area as a means of pop culture. It gets shared around and people add to it. So these are literally, you can consider them incomplete stories. And a lot of people are really into these. I mean, there's YouTube channels devoted to them reading them. So, and I'll drop a clip of one of those right here. Be sure to give them some love.
Dated back to the 16th century in Germany, featuring A tall, disfigured man, with only white spheres where his eyes should be. They called him Der Grossman? Or the Tall Man. He was a fairy who lived in the Black Forest. Bad children who crept out into the woods at night would be chased by that tall man. He wouldn't leave them alone until he caught them, or until the children told the parents what they had done. Even then, there was this chilling account of an old journal dated around 1702. It's translated from German, so the words...
There's also YouTube channels devoted to spooky stories, so this all goes hand in hand with this whole phenomenon. And the most popular place for these creepypastas is the creepypasta. God, my southern... I got into trouble during last week's videos on the Daybells, people criticizing how I pronounce certain things, and it's not that I don't understand how to pronounce them. I have a very country southern accent, and things just come out wrong. Like, I say wash instead of wash sometimes. I say, creepy pasta instead of pasta. I do know it's pasta, and I try. So I did mispronounce the word Arionic or ironic in last week's episode, so I do apologize for that. But it's not that I don't know how to say the word Aaron, but I just actually have a cousin and I call him Aaron, so it's just the way I say it. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the story. So these creepypastas are on the Creepypasta Wiki, and it was there that the two perpetrators in this crime discovered Slender Man. But Slender Man did not start on the Creepypasta Wiki. He came there after he became one of the most popular creepypasta subjects of all time. But he was actually started on a website known as Something Awful, which, believe it or not, is a comedy website that was actually created by a man named Richard Kayanka. And he actually created it as a place for he and his friends that he would send invites to post things that made them laugh. They posted short stories, scary stuff too. But it was essentially a private website. It was started in 1999, but friends started inviting more people, and it grew into one of the largest hubs for sharing memes, sharing pop culture. It's actually on the list of top 100 websites that shape the internet culture as we know it. So Something Awful will remain in history as one of those sites, like Wikipedia, like AOL, like any website that is Google, like any website that has really shaped internet phenomenon as we know it. It's on that top 100 list, so it's an important place. It's actually came in at number 89 in the 2018 poll of that sort of things. So among the users of the Something Awful website was a man by the name of Eric Knudsen, or Knudsen. He posted under his screen name known as Victor Surge, and it was he that is credited with essentially being Slender Man's father on the internet. There was a Photoshop contest, and it was basically create something scary. So he posted 2 pictures with a creature photoshopped in the back that was long, tall, very long, slender arms, and was faceless. Just a white face there, kind of like a sock puppet with no eyes. It also, in some pictures, has tentacles coming out of its back. This is Slender Man as we know him today. I'm going to pop one of those actual Photoshop pictures in there. Both of these Photoshopped images had creepy text on it to kind of make you believe it was true, because that was the whole goal of that contest, was to make these pictures seem as if they were true. So I'm going to insert both those pictures here, and then I'm going to come back and read for you the subtext to these. Under the first of those pictures was the caption, "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time." And it was taken in 1983 Photographer unknown, presumed dead. Now combine that with those images you just saw. The second one read, one of the 2 recovered photographs from Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Conformity cited as filmed to text by officials. The fire occurred at the library 1 week later. Actual photograph was confiscated as evidence. So he's making that second picture seem that it was the Slender Man that caused this library fire, and the actual photo was confiscated, and now he's found it. So remember, this happened in 2009, and this was a Photoshop contest to make a fake photograph or alter an actual real photograph into something different and make that appear real. Well, Victor did a great job of it, evidently. So that tall, faceless, mysterious, silent person that came to be known as Slender Man, it's spelled 2 different ways. One is Slender Man with a hoe, and 2 as Slender and Man, a separate word. So it does differ from message board, story site to story site. But he has become an internet phenomenon, picked up and translated throughout the internet just like any creepypasta.
Created by Eric Knudsen, a forum user on the site Something Awful. The creature is depicted as a thin, extremely tall, well-dressed man with no facial features, known for stalking and abducting children, usually in the woods.
Well, fast forward to 2014, and he was definitely all the rage. In fact, Slender Man has been put into several real-life scenarios. I mean, like, he has actually been quoted as having caused real-life disasters by diehard believers. He was picked up and put into a web series known as The Marble Hornets, where he was known as a character known as the Operator that was tormenting the teenage star of that web series. You can find that here on YouTube. And he was known as the king of the other creepypastas. There were other creepypastas that were also popular. Joe the Killer was one, and supposedly Slender Man was their king, and they all lived in his mansion, which, according to who you talk to, is in a different location. But Slender Man was the king. But the thing about Slender Man, he never actually killed anyone himself. He had proxies or apprentices that he would mentally speak to and basically coerce into doing his bidding. And so he liked to prey on children or teenagers, and that's why this creepypasta caught on so fast, because kids ate this stuff up. I remember growing up, I was very much into, Jason and Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers, and there was a claymation version of the Pied Piper, which would be very similar to the Slender Man. The Pied Piper preyed on children. He came in, he was paid to take the rats out. He was basically told they weren't going to pay him, so he got revenge by leading their children into a mountain supposedly down to hell. And there was actually like a claymation version of that story that I was minorly obsessed with as a kid. So I can see how this thing can really catch on. I mean, these were the horror movies for this generation, for the internet generation. So, and not only that, there was a horror movie made about the Slender Man, I believe, in 2012, 2013. So, Slender Man was a phenomenon. And so, the deadliest thing that happened in reference to Slender Man was not Slender Man himself, but it was the effect that it can have on certain types of minds. And that's where we come to 2014. 2 12-year-old girls stabbed another 12-year-old girl in order to please Slender Man, at least in their own mind. So let's get into that. The victim in this crime was 12-year-old Payton Leutner. She was born February 13th, 2002, daughter of Stacy and Joe Leutner. She does have one brother named Caden. I'm going to insert some photographs here. The 2 perpetrators were her best friend, Morgan Geyser, born May 16th, 2002, and Anissa Wire, who was a new kid in school that they had both befriended, born November 10th, 2001. 1. And I will insert some family pictures as well. This all started in 4th grade, actually. Morgan and Payton met in 4th grade, and Payton, who was, by all accounts, a very sweet girl, basically befriended Morgan, who was kind of a loner. According to Morgan's parents, she didn't have many friends. She would often come home and cry about not having friends. And when she met Payton, it opened up a whole new world to her. The girls were close immediately and were close from 4th grade up until this tragedy occurred. According to accounts, Payton was by all means a normal child. No issues that we know of other than, an occasional bout of stubbornness, but she got along fairly well. She loved sports. She loved playing with her toys. She loved friends. She loved movies. Just an average 12-year-old, an average child. Morgan had a little bit of a different growing up. Morgan loved cats. Morgan's whole thing was kittens. She absolutely loved kittens. She often fantasized and played as if she was a kitten. So she really loved cats. And I felt the same way about dogs growing up. And horses. But apologize, it just started to rain, so you may be able to hear it, but I think that just adds to the ambiance of what we're talking about, so I'm going to continue. Morgan was kind of fighting an uphill battle. There was schizophrenia in her family, and her father had actually been diagnosed with it, but it was under control with medication. If you don't know what schizophrenia is, it is one of the, I don't want to say worse, because I don't want to, kind of label anybody that has it, but it's one of the more well-known mental illnesses. It also has a huge effect on people because it manifests in so many different ways. Some people hear voices. Some people hear, screeching and high auditory sounds in their ear. It just makes you lose grip on reality sometimes. Her father had been diagnosed with this, but was under control with medication. And let's just say her parents were really hoping that it would, jump a generation. So later on, we'll see how this comes into play, but just keep that in mind. Keep that in your pocket for now. Both of these girls grew up in a suburb of Milwaukee known as Waukesha, Wisconsin. Very small town. Everyone knows everybody, and it's just kind of one of those idyllic places that crimes like this just don't happen. So this was really, really a shock. So these two girls grew up there. They met in 4th grade and were inseparable, at least up until this occurred. The third person involved in this tragedy and the second perpetrator is a young woman by the name of Anissa Wire. She actually moved to Waukesha the same year this occurred. So she was definitely an early transplant. According to her parents, she too was seemed to be a very normal child. She did have some obsession with scary things, namely the Slender Man and the Creepypasta Wiki. She also would watch videos that they actually, during the trial, her search history came out, her YouTube comment history, and she liked to watch a lot of videos that did weird experiments, things about death, things about things scary, and she would comment on these things, and really seemed to be her niche. She really liked scary and morbid kind of stuff. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, why didn't her parents do something about that? Well, think back at what you liked as a child. As I said, I'm still a horror movie buff. I love horror movies. I was obsessed with horror movies. I would watch anything I could get my eyes on, because my mom was kind of strict and she didn't let me watch a whole lot of stuff while she was at work, because I was kind of a latchkey kid. I would find scary movies to watch. I watched the classic slasher films like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween. I also saw some of the more B-rated movies they would show on TV, things like Willard and Ben, and just really scary, morbid stuff. And I really liked that stuff. But it didn't make me hurt anybody. It didn't make me want to, act out on it. So I Do I think that's the problem? No. I think that combined with probably something else going on in Anissa's mind might have led her down that path. So, it's hard to determine who's going to be heavily affected and who's not. And that's exactly what Anissa's mother said when she went back and thought about it. She said, maybe I should have been concerned, but I liked Stephen King's It as a child. I was obsessed with that book, so I thought Anissa was just kind of the same. So I don't want anybody to get into the mindset that we need to judge her parents for not monitoring what she watched, because a lot of kids like that sort of thing. But Anissa did move and actually became very close with Morgan. And Morgan kind of had an affinity for scary stuff too, but had never heard of Slender Man or the creepy Pasta Wiki, and it was Anissa that got Morgan into it. And according to Anissa, according to Morgan, Morgan became uber obsessed with the Slender Man. She actually told Anissa on the bus one day that she thought she had seen the real Slender Man at one point in her life, and that he talks to her. So remember that mental illness, schizophrenia, does run in Morgan's family, so perhaps this was the first sign that that was starting to occur. However, Anissa just kind of dismissed it and went along with it, and they started talking. Most of their conversations revolved around the Creepypasta Wiki. It revolved around Slender Man. It revolved around how much they would like to be a proxy of Slender Man. Now remember, Slender Man has proxies. He doesn't actually do his own dirty work. He basically has kids or other people do his dirty work, mostly children. And as a result, he never actually kills anyone, but he has other people kill him. So they started talking about how much they would like to be a Slender Man proxy. So they decided to prove themselves to Slender Man by taking the life of Payton. And they planned this murder for over 6 months. They would actually sit on the bus and have conversations. They would use code words like cracker was for knife and itch was for stab. Just really creepy stuff that came out in their police interviews. They also had the plan that they would go to the Nicollet National Forest in Wisconsin, and that's where Slender Man's mansion was, and that's where they would find him. Remember, in the Slender Man lore, that his castle, his mansion, depending on who you ask, is in a different place. So they really had it in their minds that they would do the deed and then go to be with Slender Man. Morgan, according to Anissa, now, we have to put 2 and 2 together. She's just trying to cover for herself, said that Morgan got somewhat obsessed with it. She was starting to hear Slender Man speaking to her. She was convinced that if they didn't do this, that Slender Man would come and murder both their families, and she kind of convinced Anissa of this because Anissa had a perplexity to believe in that sort of thing. So they planned that they would do it at Morgan's birthday party, May 30th, 2014, her 12th birthday party. And they essentially had 3 plans to take out Payton. Just remember. And Morgan actually called Payton Bella. So in some of the police interviews I'll show a little bit later, you will hear her say Bella, but she actually called Payton sometimes by her middle name, Bella. Plan number 1 was at the slumber party that would be at Morgan's house. They would actually, in the middle of the night, Morgan would be wearing headphones attached to an alarm clock that would go off and wake her up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Then they would get up together, duct tape Payton's mouth shut, and then stab her in the neck and leave to go to the Nicollet National Forest. That was plan number 1. But Morgan and Anissa both confirmed that they decided against that because Morgan wanted to give her best friend one more morning. So they decided they would carry out another plan the next day, which was a Saturday, May 31st, 2014. So May 30th came, they went skating, they had a great time. They played, they ate cake, great time. They all went to sleep. They all woke up May 31st, 2014, and they decided before Morgan's parents woke up, they would play a game of dress up. So they were putting on old Halloween costumes, dresses, things like that. And while Payton was in the bathroom trying on a pink fairy princess dress, the girls kind of concocted their second plan. They would go after breakfast to the local park. They would take her in the public restroom. They had a drain to catch the blood, and they would stab her there. So they both decided that was now their plan. So it goes on. A little after 9, Morgan's parents get up. The mother fixes them gets them a breakfast of donuts and strawberries. They all eat breakfast together, including the mom, have a great conversation, and then they ask if they can walk to the park. Well, Morgan's mother said normally she wouldn't allow Morgan to walk anywhere, but then there was 3 of them. She didn't see any harm, so she let them go. So they walk to the park. They walk around for a minute. They play around, and then they decide going to the bathroom. So they all go into the restroom, and their accounts differ, but from there, a strange event happens. Basically, they tell Payton, and Payton, I guess, was a little bit naive and a little bit gullible in that she trusted Morgan. They told Payton to sit down in one of the stalls. They went into the other stall and basically had a conversation about who was going to do the deed. Morgan, who had taken a kitchen knife from the house that morning and had hidden it in a old purse of her mom's that she used as a bag, she was going to do it. And Anissa tried to say, no, this is your idea. You need to do it. Morgan says, no, you need to do it. You know all the soft spots because you study this stuff. And they basically had an argument in this stall with Payton sitting in the other stall. And to this day, Payton in interviews will say, I don't know why I didn't get up and walk out. I couldn't really hear what was going on, but it did seem strange. But I was 12. It's my best friend. I trusted her. So they were arguing back and forth. And finally, Anissa says, okay, I'll do it. And then they go into the stall. They sit down with Payton. Morgan's waiting for Anissa to do it, and Anissa says she just couldn't do it. So what she did do is actually take hold of Payton, and slam her head against the stall and addle her. Now, again, I don't know why Payton, even as a 12-year-old, didn't get up and run out at that point. And she says today, as a 12-year-old, she doesn't know why she didn't. But she didn't. So they basically decide, okay, another conversation, again, creepy. We're going to go into the nearby woods. We'll do it there. So they all walk out of the bathroom. They say, hey, let's go into the nearby woods and let's do some bird watching and play hide and seek. So they all go into the woods and they start to play hide and seek. And Morgan says, I'll seek, you two hide. So Anissa basically kind of coaches Payton to lay down in the shrubbery, put leaves and brummel over herself as part of the hide and seek. And she does. Again, I don't know why, but she does. Gets up and walks off and finds Morgan. They have another conversation where Morgan says, okay, I'll do it, but you need to hold her and you need to tell me when. So they go back. She's again sitting on Payton. I guess she thought they were playing. And then she hears Anissa scream, do it, go for it, go berserk. And then she hears Morgan come up behind her and say, don't pay any attention to me. I won't hurt you. I'm just a little kitten. And then she says, Morgan is on top of her and is just stabbing her with something. And all she remembers is pain. Well, Morgan stabbed her 19 times. She said her vision was going dark. She couldn't really think. She couldn't breathe. And she told Morgan, I don't know why you're doing this, but I hate you and I'll never forgive you. And she said that both Anissa and Morgan actually told her, I'm sorry. And so after it was over, they get up to leave and they say, oh, we'll go get help for you. This is all very weird. And Payton tries to get up to kind of run away, and the girls make her lay down again, say you'll lose blood slower if you lay down. We'll go get help. And they kind of divert her a little bit deeper in the woods, and then they leave on their way to Nicollet National Forest to go find Slender Man. They weren't going for help. They were going to let her die. I don't know how she did it, but Payton managed to pull herself up and walk, going blind. You know, when you're losing a lot of blood, your vision kind of goes dark, walking toward a biking trail that was just ahead of her, and she was just stumbling toward it. She said she just kept walking until she got over the bramble and the gravel, and there was just some soft grass for her to lay down on, and she laid down there. Well, lucky for her, even though that bike path was closed for the day, that a biker decided that he was going to disobey the signs and go down that biking path anyway. And he saw her laying on the side of the road and stopped. And he said that she looked up at him and said, Can you please help me? I've been stabbed multiple times. This girl has a very advanced vocabulary for a 12-year-old. And he, of course, as any humane person would, did. And I'm going to put his 911 call here. I will put timestamps, for I know some people don't like to listen to 911 calls. So I will put that here, and then we will come back to the story. All right.
What's the address of your emergency?
Waukesha County, Lynn. I'm transferring over a caller on Big Bend. That's a dead end just south of Rivera.
Okay.
Came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yes, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Stabbed multiple times?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Are you with her right now?
Yes.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is she breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing. She said she can take shallow breaths. She's alert.
Okay, stay with her. We're sending the police department. Don't hang up, okay?
Oh,
Hold on
don't
just
hang
a
up?
minute. Don't hang up.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on just a minute, sir. We're sending officers.
Okay.
Is there any assailant around?
I didn't even look. I don't see anybody.
It's a dead end. Okay, stay right with her, sir. Is she on the ground or is she standing up?
No, she's laying on the grass.
Laying on the grass. Stay right with her. Just let me know if she is remaining conscious or not, okay?
Okay.
Is there any bleeding going on?
Her clothing has got blood on it.
Where are the wounds? Do you see where the wounds are?
No, I don't know if I should be rolling her over and checking or not. Do you know where?
Okay, just stay with her and just let me know if she's conscious or alert or stops breathing or anything. Hold on, I'm going to talk to the ambulance. Police are also en route.
Okay, thank you. I'm bothering you at all? My shade? Okay. You're very
Okay. Just keep her in that position. Just let me know on her breathing.
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
My name?
Your name.
My name.
Okay, were you just passing through?
Yes.
Okay, and you found her and she was just laying there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so you see any active bleeding or blood spurting out or anything like that?
No, unless it's underneath her. I just see
Okay.
dried blood.
Okay, just dried blood. Okay. Okay, is she still breathing? Is she still alert?
Yeah.
Okay, stay with her. Stay with her. Keep an eye on her. Hold on just a minute. Do not hang up, sir.
Okay, I will not. Who did that to you? Or don't you want to talk?
And she didn't say who did this or how it
I
happened?
don't know. I don't know if she wants to be talking. I started to ask her,
Okay.
and then
That's okay. If she's...
got to save her energy, I think.
Okay, but you see nobody else around you. Are you clearly visible if they pull down that road towards the dead end that they'll see you?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are you clearly visible when they come down there so they see you?
I'm going to have, I got a strobe flashlight on my bicycle. I'll shine that towards any emergency vehicle I see. And I'll be standing in the middle of the road.
You're in the middle of the road, and where is she, in the side of the road?
Yeah, she's on the grass. It's a little trail I take on my bicycle.
Okay, see. Don't hang up, sir. Just stay right with me.
Okay.
And let me know immediately if you see anything else suspicious in the area, a car, a person, anything.
All right.
Keep your eyes open. Was anyone coming or leaving, or any cars coming or leaving when you came upon her?
No.
Nothing?
No.
So were you on foot walking by, or did you pull up in a car?
Bicycle.
You're on a bicycle.
Yeah.
How did you see her? Did you just...
She's right in the middle of the little path I take.
Middle of the little path. Okay.
Yeah. There's a squad car coming now.
Okay, there's a squad car coming. Okay, flag the squad car down, protect her.
Here he's coming.
Does she have a bike or anything with her?
No, I don't see it. One sandal is off, but, maybe 3 feet away from her.
Okay, flag that officer down. I'm going to let you go. Okay, you meet with him right now, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
Right. So, of course, after the officer got there, they got an ambulance. They got her to the nearby hospital where they called her parents. Her mom got there and said she was only able to see her for a minute. When Payton stretched out her arms to talk to her, they whisked her away to surgery. The mom did say that she overheard the nurses counting her wounds. One nurse says, "I count 19." And the other one says, "I count 19 as well." So this child was stabbed 19 times with a 5-inch long steak knife that was taken from Morgan's house. Meanwhile, The other girls have walked several miles along Interstate 94 toward Nicollet National Forest, which was about 4 hours away by car. So they've got quite a walk ahead of them. They've wiped the blood off of the stabbing weapon and put it into the purse of her mom's that Morgan sometimes uses as a bag. They also have their backpacks with them in which they put bottled water, granola bars, everything that they thought they would need to sustain them till they find Slender Man's mansion. Well, of course, Payton was able, by writing it on paper, tell people who did this to her. And they were, of course, looking for these two girls. And in the early afternoon, they found them in front of a furniture store on the north side of town, finally getting out of town, called Steinhaffel's Furniture. They picked them up. They asked them what they were doing there. They searched them. They found the knife. They asked about the knife. They also saw the blood on Morgan's plaid jacket where she had wiped the knife off, and neither girl lied about it. They told them what happened. And so they were interviewed separately by two different detectives. Now, Wisconsin has a unique law that parents do not have to be present when minor children are interviewed by police. So they were able to interview these children without their parents or without a legal counsel. I'm not sure how that applies, but it is in the Wisconsin law. And so they very bluntly told them what happened, except they both kind of threw each other under the bus. Anissa pretty much said it was all Morgan's fault. Morgan said it was all Anissa's fault. Anissa gave a pretty accurate description of what happens that fits Payton's description of what happened. Morgan inserted a lot of things like, I think I did this. I think Anissa did this. I think Payton did this, as if she couldn't remember. She also acted very strange. There's videos of her dancing and turning cartwheels in the room. I mean, I'm sure that's just acting like a 12-year-old, but a very different kind of 12-year-old.
Why? Because she said that he'd kill our families.
But the morning after Geyser's birthday, the girls told police they were playing dress-up, petting Geyser's cat, and going to the park.
And then we played on the slide for a little bit. We went in the bathroom. And then we were singing songs.
This wasn't an innocent trip to the park, though. The girls told police they planned to kill their friend in the bathroom. Her nickname is Bella.
Anissa tried to knock Bella out. Bella got all mad and stuff, but I was pacing in circles.
Even after the bathroom attack, Bella stayed with the girls as they led her into the woods. What happened next depends who you ask.
And then Morgan jumped on top of Bella and started stabbing her repeatedly, and that's when I turned around because I couldn't stand to see that.
Geyser claims Wire started it all.
And then she jumped on Bella, and she held her to the floor.
Wait, Anissa did this?
Mm-hmm.
Payton was stabbed repeatedly. One wound came within millimeters of her heart.
What were you trying to do with her when you stabbed her?
Kill her. Tried to get up. She said that she couldn't see, she couldn't walk, and that she couldn't breathe. Did you tell her you were going to go get help? Mm-hmm. Did you want to actually get her help? No.
And so they interview them and basically get a confession. And so this is going to be pretty much a plead guilty kind of situation. It takes about 2 years for them actually to come up for sentencing, but in the end, their defense lawyers asked for them to be incarcerated in mental hospitals instead of in jail. And Wisconsin made the decision to try them as adults as well because of the severity of the crime. So in the end, they were both sentenced to around 25 years in a mental hospital. Both of them are still there. Payton, by the way, has gone on to go, but she went back. This happened in May. She was back in school by September. So tough little girl there, and she's gone on to be a volunteer at a local animal hospital. She's a very bright young lady.
I shouldn't be alive. I really shouldn't after what happened.
For the first time, Payton Leichner is talking about that day 5 years ago. 3 12-year-olds at a slumber party, and the next morning, a walk into the woods to play hide and seek.
Do you remember leaving the park to go to the woods?
They just wanted to go on a walk, and I didn't think much of it. It's just a walk. It's in Waukesha. Like, what bad stuff happens in Waukesha, Wisconsin?
And even to this day, Anissa and Morgan will ask about Payton to make sure she's okay. So I don't know. Of course, Morgan was diagnosed with full-on schizophrenia as part of her psychological evaluation. Anissa also tried to claim mental illness, although she was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, but not anything like schizophrenia. But both of these girls were found guilty, but by reason of insanity, they were sentenced to mental hospitals instead of jail. And that's where they sit. In fact, Anissa is eligible for release this year. I'll continue to monitor that and see, but there was no minimum put on Anissa because she didn't actually do the stabbing, so she's eligible for release this year. Morgan was supposed to serve at least 25 years, which means she will be 40 years old when she gets out, but there's always the chance they'll release her if her treatment goes well. Young woman, Anissa Weir, was one of the assailants, one of the convicted assailants in that case, in which at the age of 12, her and her good friend Morgan Geyser, at the age of 12 in 2014, lured another 12-year-old by the name of Payton Lawler into the woods near their home near Milwaukee. They were from the suburbs of Milwaukee, pretty average middle-class girls here, and stabbed her 19 times, saying that the fictional character from the creepypastas known as Slender Man wanted them to, and then it was their desire to go and live with him in his fictional castle, and they were planning to walk there, which it was in the woods somewhere around there. Like I said, I broke down the entire thing up here, but a judge today has ruled that she is to be released from the mental hospital that she's been in since 2017 when she was sentenced. I think the main argument, though, the main reason I'm a little hesitant about this is that she was originally sentenced to do 25 years. They were actually found not guilty by reason of insanity, but still sentenced to 25 years and 65 years. She got 25 years because she was the nice one, and then her cohort, Morgan, got 65 years. And she's being released after like 3.5 years. And I think that's the biggest travesty of that of all. She's now 19, and according to her doctors and law enforcement, she no longer holds any risk for herself or others, and so they have deemed her eligible to return to society. This is a tough one. I am all for rehabilitation. I think it's great, but I also hope that they're not wrong. I mean, we've covered enough cases, especially in our Evil Kids, where enough of these kids were basically turned out of mental hospitals because they thought they were okay, and then they ended up doing this again. So I hope they're wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're right, and she is no longer a threat to society, but time will tell. She has not been remanded to her parents yet. She has been remanded back to the mental hospital in Wisconsin where she was until they come up with a release plan. I'm sure it's going to be a staggered release, maybe a halfway house or some other type of custody arrangement before she's actually released to her parents, and probably after that supervised probation, something like that. I hope so that she has to live in society a certain amount of time before she's just unleashed on us. I'm wondering if they actually spoke to the family of her victims. Now, her victim, very well-adjusted young woman, very forgiving, has recovered. She came within a millimeter of her life ending because one of those knife cuts was a millimeter from slashing a major artery in which she would have bled out. So she was very close. And that young lady crawled her way out of that situation to a road into a public park and was able to flag down a cyclist who then got her help. So she is one tough cookie, and she's continuing to be a tough cookie. I wonder if she was consulted about this or what her reaction's going to be. But According to testimony, Anissa here was the more forgiving of the two. If there could be a forgiving person when you stab somebody 19 times, who basically told her to lay down this way, you'll bleed, you won't bleed as fast, maybe you'll live. So supposedly she was the one of the two that was having reservations about it, and it all kind of got blamed on Morgan Geisner. But anyway, so no news yet about what's going to be done with Morgan. She's still also serving a stint in a mental hospital as well. So hopefully she's still getting the help that she needs, and hopefully part of this will be with an order of protection to keep her away from Miss Leutner. I hope that that is the case, because if I'm Miss Leutner, I never want to accidentally run into this person at the grocery store. That would not be cool. I hope this is coming with some sort of stipulations, maybe even asking her family to move might be good for this. Just thinking about the victim there. But in any case, we'll see how this turns out, and hopefully it's the right decision. But anyway, I thought you'd want to know that one of the assailants in the Slender Man stabbings, released from the mental hospital, well, is ordered to be released, will be released sometime in September. That's when her next court case is. So anyway, if you have not seen the Slender Man video, highly recommend that you check it out. I'll link it up here. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and if I make it through this tropical storm, I will be back with you soon this week. And with that being said, until next time, Keto Krime.